Hi, everybody. I'm Richard Sher, and it's time again to square off. Let's meet this week's panel. Former Republican delegate, talk show host, the amazing Pat McDonough. We have former Baltimore Mayor Sheila Dixon, square off spiritual leader, former candidate for mayor, Pastor Shannon Wright, and making just his second square off appearance, consultant Andy Frank. Good to have you all with us again. What a week. Well, many American heads are spinning this morning, as you know. Tens of thousands of federal workers have lost their jobs, and many others will. Tariffs imposed, tariffs suspended, prices going up, the stock market going down. So many fired workers are now scrambling to replace their health insurance and to find work. It is chaotic. Andy, kick it off today.
Well, I think that people are losing their jobs and are being subject to criticism, and it's really endemic to the coarsening of American debate under Donald Trump. And I think it's a false equivalency to suggest that this kind of discourse happens on both sides. We have a president who speaks at a fourth grade level and uses terms like loser, fat pig, lunatics, enemy of the people. It's like, is it any wonder that people on opposite ends of the political spectrum not only disagree, but they don't like each other? I read a survey the other day that 3/4 of Republicans who still believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election somewhat agree or strongly agree that Democrats are downright evil. Under Trump, there's been a loss of civility and basic decency. I think people who are losing their jobs, their livelihoods. Elon Musk is calling them criminals. He said that USAID has to die. Even if you support massive layoffs, why can't there be a sensibility and empathy and putting programs in place to help people transition from the public to the private sectors?
Pastor Shannon, what do you think?
I think that we've been dealing with a lot of government bloat for a long time. And sometimes when you got to get to a better place, there's a little bit of hurt involved. It's kind of like with your own personal finances. One, you can't keep spending more than you have. And two, when it's time to tighten your belt, it hurts. Now, yes, there could have been some things said a little nicer. There could have been some transition resources put in place. But we're at a point where it's time to get our house in order. And when we get our house in order, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to become.
Okay. Let's hear from Sheila, and then we'll go to our delegate, Mr. Pat McDonough. Go ahead, Sheila.
Well, first of all, when you impact people's lives, and I get it, federal government is bloated, but there is a way to reduce government. First of all your department heads have not even been appointed. Secondly, you want to assess and evaluate where there is waste and determine what needs to happen. I served under a recession. We had to deal with furloughs, we had to deal with layoffs, but we systematically looked at where we could deal with the agencies and how we can downsize. You just don't eliminate people, and you allow non-elected officials to come in, like Elon Musk and Doge, to just eliminate individuals. And now the courts are saying to the system that you have to rehire those people. I mean, you're talking about people's livelihood. This is going to be an impact on everyone, on the economy as a result of what's happened.
All right, let's
hear it. It's sad because they don't know what they're doing. And those who are in Congress and in the Senate, unfortunately, the Republicans are in control. Nobody's saying anything. They're just allowing this to happen.
We're going to let Pat McDonough say something. Pat?
Well, fortunately, the people that are having a lot of trouble and are having a lot of problems are out here in the world, in the United States, because there's a $37 trillion debt that cannot get any worse, or we're going to have a disaster in America. We had to have what we're doing. Now, Trump told everybody he was going to do that, and he won by crushing the Democrat Party, and the revolution is now in the White House. Now, the people that are making the choices, a lot of people don't know this, but they're young, bright people from the Treasury Department. This is what most of them do all the time anyway. Biden, what did Biden do? Biden hired more people into the federal government in 4 years than any president before him. There's a lot of extra fat and a lot of extra weight. And when they looked at that USAID company, that USAID outfit, they found so much junk and corruption and ripoffs, and that was just going on and on. I say, thank God they're doing it. The people want them to do it. We need it in Maryland with this governor hiring 5,000 more people while we're $3 billion in debt. We need the Doge in Maryland to save the taxpayers.
We don't need the Doge that they have in DC and Maryland, and we don't need the Doge of those young individuals who have no clue and did not come out of the Treasury Department.
Yes, they did. They're
how
experts.
government works. When veterans, when people on social security, when senior citizens and other individuals and those who supported Trump see what happens to their lives, believe me, they're going to have a different mindset about what's going on.
Andy, we'll get to you in 1 second. Hold on, Pat. The Baltimore Sun and the Baltimore Banner, speaking of losing jobs, they're reporting that Baltimore's renowned Johns Hopkins University is laying off close to 2,000 people in 44 countries, the largest cuts ever. There will also be 247 jobs eliminated in the United States, most from Baltimore, Maryland. While on the other hand, a federal judge in San Francisco has ordered the Trump administration to rehire tens of thousands of probationary workers fired across multiple agencies, blasting the White House's tactics. Go ahead, Andy.
Well, I was first going to ask Pat what waste, fraud, and abuse he spoke of in terms of USAID. I haven't seen anything specifically, but I did.
He read it off at his speech. He read off a number. He read off about 10 samples at his speech.
So there were no condoms that were sent to Gaza.
He read off studies about trying to transsex.
That isn't true.
Kind of
and that, unfortunately,
let Andy finish, Pat, please.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what the Trump administration has to do because the truth doesn't support their agenda, so they have to lie and spread conspiracy. There was not research on mice in terms of how to make them transgender. That is simply false. It's a false talking point, and because
I read that in the Wall Street Journal, it's not a false talking point. And let me tell you something that surprised me. How did Johns Hopkins get all of that money to do work in foreign countries? How does that benefit the state of Maryland and the city of Baltimore?
You're looking at one side of the ledger. When you're cutting jobs, fine. But on the other side, are you cutting value? When people want to go to Yellowstone Park and they can't get there for 2 years because there isn't enough staff there anymore, the question is what do you cut and how will it affect the value of people's lives? You can't just look at one side of the equation.
Hold on a second. Pat, listen.
I can't understand these lies, Richard. I'm hearing lies. I'm sorry.
You're not hearing lies. You're hearing factual information.
I'm hearing Democrat lies,
But
Sheila.
when you cut people from these parks and people want to come and visit those parks, and now they're going to have to wait because you don't have enough staff, because people could endanger themselves going there on their own. Yeah, that does impact it. See, they're not looking at the bigger picture or assessing where there is waste, because there are ways to cut where you don't impact people's lives.
Oh, really? Well, let me tell you
yes,
something.
there
Every
is.
time you cut somebody,
impact
there are things that you can do. You can cut certain grants and other
all right.
Well, they're doing
services before you can cut people's lives.
Well, they're doing all of that.
I mean, I've been there, so I know.
Department of Education, they're cutting that. They're cutting programs. But the fact of the matter is, you're ignoring the fact that Biden hired more employees than any other president. Probably the only people getting cut are Biden's employees from 4 years.
Donald Trump is responsible.
The agent Trump passed a.
All right, guys.
That the
So here's my question: why didn't Donald Trump in his first term start cutting some of the blood?
All of these people have to go in front of department heads, which are now in place. You said they're not, but they are. And they're now in place. And also Congress can approve or disapprove.
But the department heads and the agency
judges.
People are not the ones cutting. You have someone who's not even in government cutting.
Pat,
they're from the Treasury Department.
Pat,
I don't know.
No, Elon Musk.
You all are an example of what's wrong with our country right now. Everybody's so busy talking over each other. Can't nobody hear nobody's thoughts, ideas, or points.
I
There will
want
be
to
no
say this,
conclusion in the
Pat,
argument.
Pat, you don't have to respond to every alleged lie that you're hearing because you would want to talk the whole time. We had a chat about this. You have to let people speak, and then you'll get your turn. Shannon, I want to read these stats to you. In a CNN poll released Thursday, 51% of the respondents say that Trump's policies have worsened the country's economic conditions, while 28% say they have improved conditions. 21% say they've had no effect. Shannon, what is the effect? And Pat, you don't have to answer and respond to every alleged lie that you're creating here. Go ahead, Sharon. Shannon.
So, yes, there have been some painful realities in the pocketbook of some of the things that are going on. But you have to understand, first of all, people voted for this. People understood that to get your house in order, it's going to be a little painful before you get to the other side. Now, anybody that says it's not is lying to you. When you are in your own home and you have a bill you cannot pay and you have several bills you cannot pay, you got to make some tough choices and tough decisions. Why do we expect the government to continue to just write its own check, print money, and do all these things to pay bills for everybody else? That's not how real grown folks operate. The same principles you should be running your house on is how we need to run our government on and tighten up the belt. Yes, it's going to hurt. I understand that. I'm not immune to it, but I understand that when you want to get the better result on the other side, you got to go through. You can't go over, you can't go around. Folks need to put on their grown-up panties, tighten them up, shut up, and let's get it done.
All right, Sheila.
No, I was about to say something as it relates to Reverend Wright being a minister. And so obviously she doesn't have a church, or she ministers to people because people are in pain. And today, more than ever, we need
Dixon,
to be more sensitive. Let me just finish. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm not trying to be critical.
Sheila, you're being critical.
I'm just trying to base my feelings right now. I thought you said you didn't want to cut off people. Wait a minute. I thought you said you wanted to listen. Oh, let's just hear me out. I'm not trying to criticize you.
You are really ticking me off.
I'm not trying to criticize you, but my point is that everybody, and I get it. Yes, we have to tighten our belt. Yes, government is bloated at every level of government. Federal, state, local governments are bloated. Things have to happen. You have to cut. We get it. But the way in the process that this is happening is not fair and right the way it's going on. No, those folks had no clue about how those different agencies are operating. Kennedy doesn't know how the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene operates at the federal level. He has no clue. So how do you come in and determine who goes and who stays based on what their job is? You need to assess that. You have to assess things to determine where there's block, where agencies might be more employees or more services than needed, and evaluate that and then work your way down. That's not happening. That's my point.
All right, stop.
I understand your point. People are not happy with the way things have been going. And it's been going in the manner that you described.
And Trump won this election, and he won this election based on lies, based on telling people he's going to deal with the economy, immigration. Yeah, he's dealing with immigration to some degree, dealing with, but
some degree, yeah.
Here's what we're going to do. You guys, that ticked me off, and not a church, doesn't have her own church. Listen, please be polite. Everybody in the community has been talking about the square-offs. They've been hot and heavy. This has been a good one so far, but don't interrupt each other, because when you do, it cuts the audio out. We're going to take a quick break, hear from the voice of Square-Off, Howard Mallison, who, by the way, last week when I lost power here, he took over and did a great job. And I thank you for that, Howard.
My pleasure, Richard. You know, Dr. Kelly Gagan is a well-respected board-certified podiatrist and heel specialist. Foot problems can happen at any age, and Dr. Gagan knows that the appearance of your feet matter just as much as correcting any problems you may be experiencing. And if unsightly toenails embarrass you to wear sandals or open-toed shoes, you may be a candidate for laser treatments that solve this issue. They are safe, painless, and go right to the cause. And believe me, over-the-counter treatments don't work. So give Dr. Gagan a call at 410-753-4422 to set up an appointment. You know, Baltimore is a great diner town, and the Double T diners are always voted #1 in reader polls. TT, it stands for totally terrific. For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you can't beat the enormous menu selections that will bring you back again and again. There's Double T locations on Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Bel Air, Laurel, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City. Plus, try by the docks in Middle River for their Monday night lobster special. All part of the Double T family. And tell them you heard about them on Square Off, right, Rich?
Right, Howard. And while you were reading, I did give Andy got a kick out of it. I did show one of my feet, and it looked nice. Thank you, Kelly Gagan. Give her a call, and you'll have your best foot forward. Now, Andy, where are you right now? You had something to say
Yeah,
back.
I'm not clear on what the problem was that needed to be solved in the economy. Trump inherited an economy that had 16 million of jobs created, record low unemployment, record GDP growth. The economy was the envy of the world. Company after company enjoyed record profits. So Trump inherited an economy that was doing well, and inflation, granted, was high, but coming under control. So what has he done in 6 weeks? The stock market is tanking. The Atlanta Fed is predicting a recession. This is a man-made recession that will result in people who supported Donald Trump losing their jobs. And it was all avoidable because Donald Trump has a misunderstanding of what tariffs are and what they are not.
All right. Pat, briefly respond. Briefly.
I'm briefly. Everybody did a filibuster. Now I'm briefly.
No, you're not briefly.
Let me give you some education.
Go ahead.
This country did not even have taxes until 1910. Prior to that, we raised all of our money off tariffs. Tariffs are good when they're applied properly. All of these employees that Sheila is so excited about, half of them didn't even work in Washington. They were supposed to work at home, and they had other jobs, and they weren't really working. And I want to know if Sheila and Andy are going to get the Doge check when Doge finds $2 trillion and we send $2,000 to all of the people in the United States. Is Sheila going to accept her check?
Ask Sheila.
I didn't get a check during COVID. And you know what? And so for me, that's not even the issue. And to make these general statements that everybody who was working from home had other jobs.
Those are statements. Wait a minute. See, that's the kind of stuff you got to interrupt.
No, but
that's not a general statement.
You're incorrect.
That was in the Wall Street Journal. That was in Barron's. All that stuff has been said. I'm just repeating what's been said. You know, you don't call it a general statement. That sounds
but
like
you are making a general statement. There are a lot of people who work from home who are working from home. Sure, people took advantage of working from home. That, again, not only at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level. Some people took advantage of it, but people in most cases worked their jobs. And so to make that blanket statement,
where did you find that
other
out?
jobs.
Well, where did you find
that
out?
I know a lot of people who work at the federal level, state level, local level, who have been working at home since they were home. Now, I think it's time to come back to work.
I would gladly.
Hey guys, please.
As it relates to the economy and the tariffs, my point is that he campaigned on those issues only because the prices of inflation had gone up, but he didn't do anything. It's like all his campaign misled people. Unfortunately, it misled people, and now they're starting to feel the brunt, and it's going to get worse.
All right, guys,
go on a recession. Watch and see what happens with his popularity and his
Trump
support.
did everything he
you
said.
Guys are
kept the promises.
Stick to the content.
Putting Teslas in front of the White House.
I want to
give me a break.
Can I tell your people to stop blowing up Teslas?
All right, guys, listen up. Here's a report from CLC, Campaign Legal Center. It's a nonprofit government watchdog group warning, quote, the well-being of everyday Americans is under threat. Elon Musk and Doge's activities are illegal. Now, Pat, Shannon, you start. The report goes on and says Musk and company do not have the authority to make funding decisions that impact federal agencies or decisions about federal personnel. It's all unlawful.
That's
How
true,
is that
Richard.
possible?
That's true, but here's the point. They're not making the funding decisions, and Sheila was wrong. They don't make the decisions. It has to go in front of the department heads, and it has to go in front of Congress if it involves money. We had this same thing 40 years ago. It was called the Grace Commission under Ronald Reagan, and it got attacked just like it's getting attacked today. 90% of the lawsuits that were filed against it were thrown out because the Grace Commission was appointed by President Reagan, and Elon Musk is appointed by the president. He works for the president, who has the authority to appoint assistants. So this is all lies and baloney and misinformation by the Democrats.
Shannon, please.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Like I said, this is a microcosm of what's going on in our country today. Misinformation and political spin. So when you talk about, the one thing that we all have to recognize is this. I understand some folks want to quote how government works and how these cuts should be made, and that's cute. However, people were tired of it. That's why they voted the way that they did. What has been done is no longer acceptable to the voting population. That's why they voted for something different.
Okay.
Now, yes, this different is going to hurt. This different is not raised and steeped in political corruption. Oops, did I say that out loud? So they are not going to do things the way other folks have done it because they don't come from the same school of thought that other folks do. And that is what the American people voted for. Now, when it comes to the doctrine I work from that talks about indecency and order, there are times and there are things that President Trump is doing that are not the way I would do them. However,
Like what?
In the Bible, there's good, there's bad, there's folks that are meek and mild and turn the other cheek, and then there's warriors for God. So before we want to talk about how things should be done, one, when we want to go from a biblical principle, there's nowhere in there that says change will be easy. There's nowhere in there that says take the shortcut. There's nowhere in there where it says cut corners. The Bible, although people like to misinterpret when they haven't read it, says that we all must fight, we all must stand.
Go ahead, Andy.
To do these things in decency and order and move forward for the greater good. If we do not get to a place where our country can stand on its own, we will not be what we like to call ourselves, a superpower, much longer.
Go ahead, Andy.
The federal payroll is 2% of the budget. So to pretend that this is going to result in $600 or $1,000 checks, I think it's fantasy. I mean, can you imagine if the reaction from Lindsey Graham or Ted Cruz or Sean Hannity or others on this panel if Biden had given George Soros the keys to the West Wing and charged him with reviewing the effectiveness of social programs? It wouldn't be tolerated. He's unelected. And so, and unfortunately, again, I don't understand why the president and Elon Musk, if they believe so strongly in what they're doing, why they have to spread falsehoods about the savings that they say that they are benefiting. They have this wall of receipts. The top 5 savings that were on that wall of receipts have been removed or edited. They claimed an $8 billion savings that ended up being an $8 million savings. They reported $350 million of savings 3 times on the top 5. So if they're doing such a good job, tell us the truth and then let us judge. But stop spreading lies and falsehoods.
Pat, I want to ask you a question. Critics say the richest man in the world will benefit big time with Tesla, SpaceX, and other Musk businesses, which have been investigated or fined 32 times by 11 agencies. SpaceX, Tesla, and other Musk businesses have won at least $18 billion in federal contracts from NASA, the Defense Department, and other agencies in the past 10 years. Pat, can you briefly respond to that?
My response is,
respond.
My response is, frankly, that there were contracts that were reviewed by the federal government and by the lawyers, and he was accepted because he was the only guy that could do it. And so far, he's done a wonderful job. Now, to compare Elon Musk, an American hero, even though he wasn't born here, to George Soros, a guy that hates America, wants to take down America. That is a sin. Andy, you should be ashamed of yourself. But the bottom line is that Elon Musk doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to have people burning his Tesla cars. He doesn't need to have radical Democrats protesting in front of the shops where they sell the cars. The problem is the radical Democrats were failures. There aren't even any more Democrats, Richard. I used to be a Democrat. You're a Democrat. The Democrats have been consumed and eaten up by AOC, the radicals, all of the lefties. They all ate up the Democrats.
Now, you mentioned Andy, so we'll give Andy a shot. Then we'll break for Howard.
I'm just curious whether Pat had any trouble at all, Donald Trump turning the White House into a used car lot and shilling for Elon Musk, the richest person in the world. And then the next day, Elon Musk announced he's giving $100 million to the Donald Trump campaign fund. Do you have any problem with that at all?
No, I love it. I think we should give Donald Trump, my wife gave him $1 million. We should give him all the money in the world because the revolution must win. We can't allow the radical left, stupid Democrats to continue to wreck America and destroy.
And this is the way to bring people together, Pat, using those words about people who disagree.
Well, we don't need
terrific.
to come together.
This is not even a revelation.
Your people sat on their butts during
Who
the
are my
last
people? Who are my people, Pat?
The Democrat radicals. That's who your people are. The ones that were destroying America.
Yeah, is it any wonder that this country hates
them and they're gone?
Pat, I can't believe you married that kind of money. Good for you. Hot dog. We'll be back in a minute.
Pictures up here with Donald Trump.
I know you
Elon Musk is not only controlling the president, he's also controlling majority of the House and the majority of the Senate. And that's why they haven't said anything and they've kept their mouths quiet, because he's controlling them and threatening them. You know, the other thing is he has 32 fines out of all of these different agencies. He's trying to cover up his mistakes and continue to leave there in the next 4 years when Trump is gone as a trillionaire. You know, come on. He shouldn't be there, be a part of that. And he's sending the wrong message.
Here again is Howard Madison.
Joe Biden given a pardon to Elon Musk.
Pat, here's Howard.
Pat, can I borrow $1 million? The law firm of Barry Glazer specializes in personal injury, medical malpractice, and nursing home neglect. His creative TV commercials have made him very recognizable because Barry tells it like it is. Barry and his team have an in-house doctor and nurse on staff. You should call Barry before you call the insurance company because Barry gets you top dollar from the insurance companies. He's that good. So give the law firm of Barry Glazer a call at 410-547-8568 and let him know you heard about him on Square Off. You know, with so many cars on the road and distracted drivers everywhere, auto accidents will happen. And if you've experienced an accident, the insurance companies cannot tell you where to take your car. That's why more and more drivers are trusting their auto repairs and maintenance to leading edge auto body and mechanical repair. They work on all makes and models and offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in the Baltimore area. So give them a call at 410-443-6433. That's 410-443-6433, or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in Mount Washington. They make your car look and run like new again. Back to you, Richard.
Yep, leading edge auto body mechanical, take care of our cars, and Pat's limousines, Bentleys, and Corvettes. Hey,
in his Tesla.
I've got my Prius.
Pat has a Tesla. He lives in it. Here's something from the Associated Press. We don't have a lot of time left, but some laid off federal workers are now running into another unexpected unpleasantry. These are relatives who are Trumpers, real Trump supporters who cheer their firings, steadfast in their support of what they see as bloated government waste. So your kid gets fired from the federal government and the parents are excited because they're Trump supporters. Pat, what is that about?
Well, they're absolutely sick. They're just sick people. All those Trump people are sick, Richard. Go watch MSNBC,
Trump
listen
people?
to Andy and Sheila. They'll tell you Trump people are sick. They don't know what the heck they're doing. And Andy talks about money from my wife and from old Elon. Do you know, Andy, you ought to do a little bit of research and find out that the Democrats had more money in the presidential race, a lot more than Trump and his money, and he still crushed them.
I got Andy respond
Pat,
briefly.
You know, it wasn't a mandate. It wasn't a landslide. It was one of the closest elections in 40 years in terms of top. Pat, can I finish speaking?
He won
please?
all 7 of the
All
swing
right.
states. He won the popularity vote, and he won 80% of the counties in America. If
You
that's
asked,
not
you
a
asked
plus, you let me know what
Pat,
it is.
you asked me a question. I tried to answer it.
I didn't ask
And
you
you-
a question. I don't
Quiet,
do anything from
Mr.
you because I
Pat.
don't believe
All
you.
right.
Pat, quiet, please.
Go
Go ahead, Andy.
No, I'm good. Thanks, Richard.
You're good? Okay. I would like to say, as we near the end of this square-off, that our audience has continued to grow. We are at squareoff.net, as you know, and we're also now on YouTube. Go on YouTube at Square Off Show. I want to take a moment here on Square Off that all of us here and all of us in Maryland are certainly wishing a successful recovery for the Baltimore County police officer who was shot in his torso on Thursday afternoon outside the Wilkins precinct. The officer was at the gas pumps. A man started shooting. Other officers exchanged fire with the suspect, who was also wounded. The injured Baltimore County officer was rushed to shock trauma, where luckily physician-in-chief Dr. Tom Scalea performed surgery. He is the best trauma surgeon anywhere in the world. As of Friday morning, the officer's condition is guarded. The shooter is critical but stable. Baltimore County Police Chief Robert McCullough says, quote, "It was very clear that this was premeditated. The shooter has a limited criminal background. Neither ID is available for either of these gentlemen before we taped Square Off on Friday." Well, Pat, good show. Shannon, excellent. Thank you for the look inside the Bible. We needed that probably. Sheila, you're your own feisty self. And Andy, you and Pat had a good day today. And it was a very good square off. Anyway, I'm Richard Sher, and I want you all to have a great, safe week. Keep your eye on what's going on in Washington. And we'll see you next time, same time, when once again we square off. Thank you all very much. Bye.